We will go back and do our town manager's report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
You're welcome.
I wanted to take a moment to address the challenges that we've been facing on Lake Muscuppick. As this board is certainly aware, more than 75%, probably 85% of Lake Muscuppick is in Tyngsborough. The rest of the lake is in Dracut. In Tyngsborough, there's no public boat ramp, and the town beach is town-owned and restricted to residents only. Aside from the very rare parking issues, that beach runs itself. There's never any issues, and our police department and fire department respond there very seldomly. However, on the Dracut side, there's a state-owned boat ramp that has no access restriction, and the beach is open to anyone. It's subject to a bizarre land management agreement between the town of Dracut and the Division of Fisheries and Wildlife with the state. That beach becomes a total zoo from Thursday to Sunday in the summer and on weeknights as well. The number of outside watercraft entering the lake is entirely unmanageable. I'm sure many of you have seen the social media posts about it, and this is certainly not the first year it's been a problem. With the help of the Lake Association, we were donated a boat that the police department uses regularly to patrol the lake. All of that, however, is funded by overtime. Our budget doesn't contemplate a marine patrol, and it would be totally rude of us, not just rude, unfeasible, to ask the Lake Association on top of donating us a boat to pay for the police detail. On a very minimal occasion, Dracut will send an officer on the boat with us to help. They're limited in resources as well, and so that never happens. Right now, we have our own staffing challenge. We have 2 new recruits going to the academy in August. So we're having a tough enough time filling our regular patrol shifts on the road, let alone forcing people in to go on the boat. It's really not safe to have just one officer on the boat at a time, so we try when we can to have 2. Oftentimes, that results in Chief Woods being the second officer, which is certainly not how any of us want to use the police chief. Occasionally, Mass Environmental Police are out there. They're short-staffed, and they're typically out there from 8 a.m. to noon. They enforce a couple fishing violations, but they're gone before the craziness starts. There have been instances, and I've listened to the radio and 911 calls, where there have been 911 calls for reckless conduct. Dracut has no one available, so our area car is responding, and Chief Woods is helping because the other 2 officers in Tyngsborough are tied up. It's really becoming an issue that's burdening Tyngsborough more so than Dracut. He spent 2 nights a couple weekends ago, a Saturday night and a Sunday night on the boat. We had an OUI crash last month, and we encounter reckless operators every day. On a Tuesday afternoon 2 weeks ago, the Tyngsborough police responded to a report of jet skiers that were playing bumper jet skis and throwing things at each other while racing at high speeds. They were observed in Dracut at the ramp, but Dracut PD had no one available to assist, and told our dispatch that they could have someone there in 35 minutes. I mean, we can't sit by while people do this. So again, in that case, Chief Woods and patrol officers from Tyngsborough removed them from the area. What is notable is that the people that were ticketing, the people that were throwing off the lake, they're coming from as far away as Revere, Lawrence, Methuen. That group that I'm talking about was from Lawrence. So it's not Tyngsborough residents or Dracut residents. It's people that are coming from a distance. Residents on the lake are frustrated. Our police department is being taxed by this. The water is totally unsafe for passive recreation like swimming, kayaking, or paddleboarding, and even using watercraft that residents own is risky. I've been working with the town of Dracut, and Kate Hodges, their new town manager, has been incredibly responsive, but ultimately any dramatic changes to that boat access need to be approved by the state. So I've called on Fish and Wildlife to grant us permission to close the boat ramp for the remainder of the season to allow Tyngsborough and Dracut to develop a better access plan. We've got a meeting on the books for Wednesday at 11:30. The state has expressed serious skepticism about closing the boat ramp. But, I feel this way. Chief Woods has demonstrated as well. This is a tragedy waiting to happen. In 2017, a 16-year-old girl lost her life in a jet ski accident on the Merrimack River. They formed the Merrimack River Task Force, and they forced all those jet skis off of the river. Well, now they're on Lake Muscuppick, and I believe it would be irresponsible for the state to make us wait until there is a tragedy on Lake Muscuppick. One of the things, I've spent a lot of time this weekend looking at the CMR, which regulates great ponds. Lake Muscuppick is considered a great pond, even though it's really not that big. And when you carve out the large swimming area in Dracut and the swimming area we have in Tyngsborough, you've got less and less space. you have to maintain public access to great ponds. And I believe that we can come up with a pay for a daily permit type system, which many of the lakes in New Hampshire do, where once the 7 boat parking spots at the town beach in Drake are occupied, no outside watercraft can go on until those boat spaces free up. If we were only talking about 7 additional watercraft every Saturday or Sunday, we wouldn't be having this issue at all. But we're talking about 15. I mean, we encountered one group of people who couldn't take their jet skis out right away because they had them dropped off in the morning and they were waiting for somebody with the trailers to come back and pick them up in the afternoon. So, the state says, well, there's only 7 parking spots, but people are parking at the old Council on Aging building on Lakeview Ave. They're parking all over the streets in Drake. So I'm hoping that the state takes this serious, allows us to shut the boat ramp down for the remainder of the summer. I think on one hand, it'll give us the time to develop a policy and hire somebody. Drake's going to have to hire somebody using the fees they collect to restrict access. But it will also, I think, if you drive up here from Revere to use it and the boat ramp's closed, you're probably not going to waste your time coming again for the rest of the season. It'll give residents some relief. They haven't been able to go out on the water. And this one of the things the state says is, well, if you're going to restrict access to outsiders, you've got to restrict access to people who live on the lake. But it's common sense, right? If you live on the lake, these are your neighbors. If your kid's driving recklessly, they're going to call you and tell you. You don't want to embarrass yourself. When people don't have any skin in the game, that's when they're acting reckless. And if you've been on any of the social media pages, you can see the videos of people chasing each other, throwing glass bottles at each other. We adopted a bylaw, you may recall, at our town meeting that prohibits beaching. That has helped on the Tyngsborough side. But just 2 weekends ago, there's a photo online with 11 jet skis lined up along the shore near the town beach. If we had to evacuate somebody who was injured, there's no space for us to do so because every inch of land is tied up. So, I hate to keep harping on what might seem like a minor issue, but if the state doesn't allow us to do something fast, there will be an issue. And Tyngsborough simply can't continue to bear the entire responsibility. So I know that you all see this. I don't know if people reach out to you, but I wanted you to know that we have a meeting. Environmental police are participating. Drake is participating. And hopefully we can do something quick to address that. The Massachusetts Department of Transportation has ramped up their public involvement and awareness campaign around the much-awaited Rourke Bridge replacement project. They most recently conducted a virtual briefing on the project and held an in-person meeting in Lowell late last month. In May, the project was awarded to Skanska USA and Jacobs Engineering for $273.8 million. As a part of the project, the new bridge will be installed further to the west of the original bridge, so bringing it closer to Tyngsborough. And there will be significant roadway reconstruction on Pawtucket Boulevard and Middlesex Street in Lowell. The new bridge will connect Old Ferry Road in Lowell, so that's where the new market basket is, to Middlesex Street on the other side of the river. The existing bridge is going to be maintained until the new bridge is constructed. That new bridge will be much wider. It'll have 2 travel lanes in either direction, as well as a sidewalk and a protected bike lane in each direction as well. So you're really talking about a bridge that's going to be like 4 times the size of what's there today. Mm-hmm. The construction work has commenced with investigative explorations and the clearing of vegetation, and prep work will commence in August. By October, full construction will be underway with the goal of having a new bridge constructed at some point in 2029. The old bridge will be taken down and the work will be totally completed by 2030. Most of the work is scheduled to take place during regular hours because they're maintaining access to the Rourke Bridge. So, obviously we're concerned about any period where the Rourke Bridge is closed, that will increase traffic in Tyngsborough. It doesn't look like we'll have to deal with that for some time. If there is periods of time where the bridge has to be closed, that work will be done in the overnight hours. So it will add traffic to the Tyngsborough side, but in the overnight hours, that's minimal anyway. Included in your correspondence this evening is a report from the ABCC, the Alcoholic Beverages Control Commission, identifying 4 violations from 4 different establishments in Tyngsborough. All of those violations regarded service of alcohol to minors. Since the ABCC is the entity that identified the violations, there's no action required by this board. The correspondence indicates that the ABCC has scheduled hearings for all 4 establishments in September and will, of course, follow up to see what the outcome is. This is the first time in quite a bit of time that we've had any violations by the ABCC, let alone 4 on the same day. I think the last ABCC enforcement action was during the pandemic, and that was because there were bars serving alcohol but not serving food. So given the really unacceptable number of violations found in one day, I'll be meeting with Chief Woods tomorrow morning, and I think what we'll do is develop a local compliance option. As this board knows, every year you appoint 2 liquor enforcement officers, and it's not uncommon for municipalities to do their own stings of some sort. Again, we've had a really good record. We haven't had any violations we found or other people have found, but given this many in one day, I'll work with the chief to develop our own unannounced compliance checks, and if there are violations there, the hearings would be held before the select board. Fortunately, these are all first-time offenders, so it's not like we're dealing with repeat offenders, which is a little bit of solace. On a project front, the demolition of 180 Lakeview Ave hit a major milestone, which is the submission of a work plan to the Massachusetts Department of Environmental Protection. Sean and I met with the contractor last week to discuss the project schedule. If Mass DEP approves the plan as submitted, the abatement and demo will all be done in 2.5 days. The contractor is simply proposing that they demo the building and then transmit all of the material as possibly hazardous to a landfill. That is subject to testing that they did independently, the testing that we had done, and also because they have concerns, the building is held up by a timber foundation in a dirt basement, and so their concern is the more layers of mastic that they pull up, the more unstable it could become. Works for us, makes it a lot faster. Once the building is down, they'll grade the site, they'll fill it, and then our highway department will pave over it so that we have expanded parking. So that very likely will be completed in the next several weeks. And as I've indicated previously, the town will maintain access to the softball field during construction, and the impacts will be minimal, if any. Work to install the new sidewalk on Norris Road began today. Crews will be installing a new ADA accessible sidewalk from the intersection of Norris and Frost up to the school campus. The project is funded by the Capital Improvement Plan and is expected to be completed before the first day of school. There's a little bit of work that will have to be completed afterwards, just simply because the construction fencing around the old middle school is in the way. And so instead of cutting out pieces of the work, we've asked the contractor to do 85% of it. Once the building is down and the contractor can remove the fencing, we'll come back in at off hours to do that small portion. It's probably less than 6% of the total project. Sadly, we were notified by the Executive Office of Administration and Finance for the Commonwealth that the earmark that Senator Kennedy was successful in having included in the Economic Development Bond Bill for $600,000 for the DPW building will not be included in the governor's capital plan. Rather, the administration actually hit pause on all local earmarks due to uncertainty around state revenue. To that end, DPW Superintendent Jake Swicker and I have gone back to the drawing board about how to best spend the available funds, which is about $660,000. That includes all of the funding that we have appropriated locally, the $120,000 mitigation payment due to the town from the Kendall Road Warehouse project, and the commitment from the Sewer Commission to fund 1/3 of the total project from the Enterprise Fund. We're talking to some Massachusetts communities right now that have erected prefab storage structures only. We had originally gone out to bid to construct a pre-engineered steel building, just the shell, and it included an area we could build out office spaces later. Given the work that we did on the existing office spaces and the break room, we will likely go out to bid for just the storage structures, knowing full well that if the funding became available, we could build off of the storage structures some more office space. But as far as office space, bathrooms, and locker rooms, we've completely redone the ones in the existing highway garage, and so they're suitable for our needs right now. Because we have an intermunicipal agreement with the Sewer Commission, we'll meet with them at some point in August to talk about our approach, and I expect by September we'll be able to report back about the phase or where we're going with this. We're hosting our second department head goal setting workshop on August 18th. This is the second year that we've brought all department heads together to focus on planning and goal setting for the upcoming year. This year's effort is being led by Sean, and we'll have departments incorporate the select board's goals as well as the master plan goals into their efforts. Last year was kind of a boilerplate, get people thinking about their goals. We'd like this year's to be a little bit more tied to your goals and also the master plan. Very excitingly, on Wednesday, we'll release a request for qualifications for architectural firms to conduct the schematic design of a new fire headquarters. Later this evening, we'll ask the select board to appoint a representative to the designer selection committee, which will review the responses and recommend the most qualified firm. Responses are due by August 20th, and I expect to be able to award a contract by September 1st. The selected firm will have up to 4 months to complete the work, which will also include a new construction estimate. So that is a project I know this board is very excited about, the chief is excited about, and I'm glad to see it kicking off. Just a few standing reminders. The Tyngsborough Public Library is constantly hosting events. You should go to tinglib.org/event-calendar to learn more. The Recreations Committee's summer concert series continues at Ironwood Park next week, with the fundraisers on August 7th and Ben Duran on September 11th. Summer concerts take place under the pavilion at Ironwood Park and start at 6:30. Bring your own snacks and non-alcoholic beverages in a comfy chair and enjoy great music. The Health Department will host Household Hazardous Waste Day on Saturday, August 16th from 9 a.m. to 12:30 at the DPW yard at 89 Kendall Road. Residents can learn more about what will be accepted at Household Hazardous Waste Day by visiting the town's website. And just a note and a reminder, the driveway to the DPW yard is now through Commerce Way. If you try to turn where you used to be able to, you'll hit some cones first, and then you will hit a very tall curb. So enter as if you're going to the park and ride, and then there's a big sign guiding you to the DPW yard. The annual Party by the Bridge, hosted by the Recreation Committee, will take place on Saturday, August 23rd in the town center. The program will begin at 11 a.m. and will end with fireworks at dark over the river. As always, they're still looking for volunteers. I think last I looked, they still needed like 60 additional ones. So if you haven't had a chance to sign up and help, visit the website at tyngsborough.gov for more information, or contact the Rec Department at 978-649-2300, extension 150. And then finally, the Fall Health and Safety Fair will take place on Saturday, September 27th from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the Tyngsborough Elementary School.
You want to see if I can go longer?
Please, please.
Pretty good. No, just one update from me. I am happy to report a positive update that the town has awarded a contract to Mojin Solutions LLC to provide food inspection coverage in relation to a bid opening that we discussed at our last meeting a couple of weeks ago. Mojin Solutions has been providing regional food inspectional services to several local communities, Tyngsborough included, since early this year. They were the low bidder in a bid opening last week, and their prices for fiscal year 26 are largely in line with what we had experienced through the beginning or through the second half of fiscal 25, just a very modest increase. They will begin later this week on August 1st with that new contract running through June of 2026. And in coordination with NEFA, we hold 2 additional one-year options on that contract, should we wish to extend the partnership if things continue to go well, also if we need their services at that point. So that's all for me.
Thank you. Questions? Select Person Eldridge.
No questions. Great job as always.
Select Person Gilthus.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. If you wouldn't mind just sharing, for the restaurants that will need to go in front of ABCC about the findings, could you just remind us what the impact immediately is? It's not like they're closed, they don't get their license taken away, like things like that.
No immediate impact. A hearing was scheduled. Like I said, all of these are first-time offenders, so I would be very surprised if there's anything more than a warning.
Most likely a fine.
A fine of some sort. But you're right. Operationally, they still remain open, and we will do our own compliance checks to make sure that the lesson was learned.
I'm gonna imagine what that means. Thank you. For the Norris Road sidewalks, I know that there had been conversation about trying to move some trees and things that were on yards just to make sure that we were respecting the neighborhood as much as possible. Do you know if that work was done and was it satisfactory?
Yes, I'm glad you brought this up. This is something that comes up anytime we do a road project, whether it's sidewalk or not. People often forget that typically roughly the first 3 feet of your property are actually the town's right-of-way, which under Massachusetts law is reserved for things like utilities, a telephone pole, or other public purposes. And so we often see people construct very fancy mailboxes in the right-of-way, and we do our very best to work around those concerns. Our DPW superintendent has met, I think there were really 2 primary concerns. I believe that they're as satisfied as they will be. I think in one case we agreed to relocate the person's wall at, as an expense of the project. Mm-hmm. But this is a good reminder for folks that if you want to construct something expensive, check with the highway department or DPW to make sure you're doing it outside of the right of way, because you will never have to worry about us. We couldn't go onto your actual property and move something, but where we can, we try to be as flexible as we can. In order to construct a sidewalk that meets the ADA, which is the only type of sidewalk we would install, that can become difficult if people have very fancy shrubbery or walls that prevent it. Fortunately, in this case, we were able to mitigate the concerns to the best of my knowledge.
Thank you, sir. Great work to both of you. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Selectperson Cohen.
Yeah, so the sidewalk at Norris Road, I'm very glad to see that's, finally at the stage where we can start developing this. I mean, for at least a couple of decades, I've heard people complain, why isn't there a sidewalk there? Why isn't there a sidewalk there? It's too complicated, we can't get it done. Just another benefit of having an engineer on staff to really dig into this. I don't believe it probably would have happened without Jake. So another kudos to Jake, and great job. It'll be great to see that sidewalk there. Kind of tired seeing people walking down Norris Road after school, probably heading to AATS or wherever they're heading, but, I'd be glad to see them actually on a sidewalk now. The DPW building, again, thanks to administration. I don't know how many iterations we've gone through trying to make this happen, to have a space to put the equipment, get it out of the elements. A lot of other towns close to us have spent, I think the Bill Ricca DPW building was something like $20 to $30 million. We're just trying to put something, there to be able to get our equipment out of the elements. And thank you for keep working it. I know we're still not done, but we're trying to do this as cost effectively, as we can. And I'm very excited to hear the results of the goals meeting that Sean is going to do. That's it. Thank you.
Selectperson Cohen. Coughlin.
I already
Sorry, I know. I got Cohen on my mind.
Did you not listen to me?
I did not.
Deja vu all over again.
Hey, what?
Yes. No, I have no comments. Very thorough town manager report.
I have two questions, Colin. First one, on that meeting that you're going to have with Mass Fish and Wildlife, is that at all a public-type meeting? I'm guessing it's not.
It is not a public meeting, and I would, I've gotten this question from a lot of the residents on the lake that I speak to. I think that at this stage, it's best to let us try to hash out an agreement. I will certainly report back in a public meeting the result. But no, it is not a public meeting.
And I didn't think it was, but maybe I'm using the wrong word, maybe threatening one, but maybe you could suggest to Mass Fish and Wildlife that they should entertain some public comment from the abutters, because it's one thing for you and for the folks that drake it, police and stuff, to weigh in. I think it carries much more weight if the residents can talk about how it's affecting their quality of life. That's first. My second question on the Rourke Bridge, do we know if any of that is federally funded? Because and the reason I ask is I keep hearing of the administration pulling back federal funding for a lot of infrastructure projects, and I'm just hoping that that's not the case for Rourke Bridge.
All of I don't know the exact breakdown. There was substantial federal funding that helped with the initial design and the studies. The contract has been awarded to Skanska, so any of the funds, whether there is some from the federal government or from the state, if it's from the federal government, the state wouldn't have been able to enter into a contract unless those funds were already dispersed to the state. So I don't believe, I think the point you're getting at, that there's a risk of a loss of federal funding that might impact the project, because the state, similar to the town, couldn't enter into a contract unless they physically had the funds available.
Okay, good. Thank you.